Queen Lyria of the Illyrian Star Empire sat alone on her crystal throne, a throne that once shone like the heart of a rising sun. Now it felt cold and heavy, almost painful to touch. The grand hall around her was silent, as if even the walls understood her sorrow. Bright banners, golden pillars, and floating lanterns decorated the massive chamber, but none of it brought warmth to her heart. For 10 long years, a quiet ache lived inside her, and no force in the universe had been able to heal it. Lyria was known across the galaxy as the Queen of Light. Her people believed she carried the strength of 1,000 stars in her spirit. She had protected distant colonies, ended wars, and kept peace among many worlds. Her presence inspired trust and respect. But today, her eyes were tired, her shoulders were heavy, and her smile, once warm and soft, had vanished completely. The universe saw her as powerful, but they did not see the mother hidden beneath the crown. 10 years ago, her only daughter, Princess Selene, disappeared during a cosmic storm. The princess had been traveling with her tutors across the outer star lanes when a violent energy surge struck their ship. Communication was lost. The ship never returned. Search fleets traveled across thousands of light years, scanning empty space and silent moons, but they found nothing. Many believed Selene had perished. Others said she had drifted too far to ever return. But Queen Lyria never accepted those words. She had felt her daughter's laughter, her warmth, her small arms around her neck when she was little. No mother could ever forget such moments. She refused to believe her daughter was gone. Even when the Empire encouraged her to move forward. Even when political meetings demanded her attention. Even when entire worlds begged her to lead with strength. She remained a mother waiting for a child who had not come home. Every morning, before the palace awakened, she walked to the highest balcony of her tower. From there, she could see the galaxy stretch into infinity, glittering with 1,000,000 stars. She always looked toward the same direction, the sector where her daughter's ship had vanished. She hoped that somewhere out there, Selene was alive. She hoped that one day the stars would carry her daughter back to her arms. But as the years passed, hope became heavier. Her footsteps grew slower. Her voice lost its shine. Her heart carried a quiet pain that no healing crystal, no wise advisor, and no royal ceremony could erase. Still, she waited. The palace staff spoke in soft voices whenever the queen passed by. They admired her strength, yet they feared she was fading from within. Some nights, the guards outside her chamber heard quiet sobs, soft, heartbreaking, and filled with loneliness. But no one dared enter. They respected her grief. They respected her privacy. And deep down, they hoped for the impossible, just as she did. Across the empire, festivals continued, trade routes remained open, and diplomatic ships traveled across planets. The Illyrian Empire prospered, but its heart was wounded. The loss of Princess Selene was not only the queen's sorrow, it was the sorrow of an entire civilization. Children grew up hearing stories of the lost princess. Priests lit lanterns in her memory. Travelers whispered prayers whenever they passed the star lanes where she had disappeared. And yet in the quiet corners of the universe, something was changing. Far beyond the Illyrian borders, beyond the reach of royal fleets and navigational maps, an old escape pod drifted through deep space. Its lights flickered weakly, as if calling out to anyone who might listen. Inside it, a young girl lay in a peaceful, fragile sleep, a girl with silver hair and a soft glow around her skin. She looked serene, untouched by the passing years, as if time itself had protected her. Her name was Selene, and destiny was preparing to wake her. Captain Ethan Ward was known across human space as a wanderer with a gentle heart. He traveled alone in his small exploration ship, the Horizon Star, moving from one quiet corner of the galaxy to another. He searched for forgotten signals, damaged satellites, and lost travelers who needed help. Ethan never called himself a hero. He simply believed that no one deserved to be left alone in the darkness of space. On a calm day, while traveling through an uncharted region, his ship detected a faint distress signal. It was so weak that most scanners would have ignored it, but Ethan's ship was old and sensitive, just like its captain. He frowned at the screen and whispered to himself, "Who could be out here?" The coordinates led him to a lonely moon floating near a dead star. The moon had no life, no cities, no warmth, only rocks and silence. But something small glowed near its surface. As Ethan brought his ship closer, his breath caught in his throat. It was an escape pod, ancient and damaged, barely holding together. A soft light flickered inside it, like a candle fighting against the wind. Ethan landed carefully, stepped out in his suit, and approached the pod. Its metal was cracked, covered in dust from years of drifting. When he wiped the glass window, his heart froze. Inside was a young girl with silver hair, lying very still. Her skin glowed faintly, and her breathing was soft but present. She was alive. Ethan opened the pod with trembling hands, afraid that even a gentle touch might harm her. As the lid lifted, warm air escaped, carrying the faint scent of flowers, something he had never smelled in deep space. The girl's eyes fluttered open for a moment, revealing a soft violet glow. She looked frightened, confused, and exhausted. Hey, Ethan said softly. "You're safe now. I'm here." The girl tried to speak, but only one word came out, broken and fragile. "Mother." Ethan leaned closer. "Who? What's your mother's name?" Her lips trembled. She whispered, barely audible, "Queen." "Lyria." Ethan's eyes widened. Even humans knew that name. Queen Lyria was a legendary ruler, respected for her fairness and admired for her strength. Her tragedy, the loss of her only daughter, was known across many worlds. Ethan looked back at the fragile girl and felt a tightness in his chest. Could this be Selene, the lost princess? He gently lifted her into his arms. She felt light, almost weightless, as if she had spent years sleeping without ever waking. He carried her into his ship and placed her on a soft medical bed. The ship's scanners confirmed something unbelievable. Her body had been in a protective stasis chamber, slowing time around her to almost nothing. 10 years had passed outside. But for her, only moments. Ethan covered her with a blanket and sat beside her. She stirred once more, eyes half open. "Where am I?" "You're on my ship," Ethan answered gently. "I found you. You're safe." She looked around weakly, then closed her eyes again. "My mother. Is she alive?" Ethan swallowed. He knew the truth. Queen Lyria still waited, still searched, still cried. "Yes," he whispered, voice warm and steady. "She's alive, and I'll take you back to her. I promise." The girl relaxed as if his words were a soft lullaby. Within seconds, she fell back into peaceful sleep. Ethan leaned back in his chair, staring at her with a mix of awe and responsibility. He had rescued many people in his life, but none like her. She wasn't just a lost traveler. She was the daughter of a queen who had mourned for a decade. She was the answer to a mother's endless prayer, and Ethan felt something he never felt before, a deep sense of purpose. He looked through the window at the stars and whispered, "Hang on, Selene. I'm taking you home." The hum of the horizon star filled the small cabin as Captain Ethan Ward carefully monitored the young girl lying on the medical bed. Her breathing was steady now, though shallow, and the soft glow of her skin made the cabin feel almost magical. The longer Ethan watched her, the more he realized she was not just a child. She carried the grace and dignity of someone extraordinary. Even in her fragile state, she stirred, opening her eyes slowly. "Where am I?" she whispered, her voice weak but curious. The violet light in her eyes flickered with confusion, fear, and hope all at once. "You're safe," Ethan said gently. "I found you in space. You were lost, But now you're here. You're going home. Home. She repeated softly, the word trembling on her lips. Then, as if gathering courage, she added, "To Mother?" "Yes," Ethan answered, nodding. "To your mother." His voice carried the warmth of certainty, even though he himself felt the weight of what lay ahead. He had read every record about Queen Lyria, her strength, her wisdom, and most of all, her grief. He knew returning this girl would not only reunite a family, but heal a wound that had lasted 10 long years. The girl sat up slowly, wincing, and looked around the cabin. I don't remember much," she admitted. "The storm. Everything is so blurry." She shivered, pulling the blanket closer. "I was alone." Ethan's heart tightened. "I know," he said softly. "It's okay. You're not alone anymore. You're safe now." Her eyes filled with tears, though no sound escaped. She tried to speak but could only shake her head. Ethan understood that her soul had carried a decade of fear and loneliness into this moment. He stayed quiet, letting her process, letting her grief speak in silence. As days passed aboard the ship, Ethan helped her regain strength. He gave her simple meals, warm baths, and gentle encouragement. He encouraged her to speak about memories of her mother, about the palace, about the life she remembered. Each story she shared painted a picture of love and joy, and Ethan listened with care, never interrupting. "She used to make the stars seem alive," Selene whispered one evening, her hands trembling as she held a small pendant. "She told me, no matter how far the stars take you, they will always lead you home." She paused, looking out at the endless galaxy. "I believed her. I always believed her." Ethan nodded, his eyes shining. "Then we'll get you home," he said. "I promise." Every night, as Selene slept, Ethan checked the ship's instruments and plotted their course to Illyria Prime. Each star they passed reminded him of the distance they had to travel, but he never wavered. The journey was long, but the thought of a mother finally seeing her daughter again filled him with determination, stronger than any obstacle. Selene began to smile again. Small but genuine smiles that lit up her face. She laughed softly at small jokes Ethan made, and sometimes she even hummed songs from her childhood. Each moment of joy seemed to heal not only her heart but also Ethan's. There was something sacred about witnessing hope return to someone who had lost it for so long. One evening, as the ship passed a cluster of glowing nebulae, Selene looked at Ethan with gratitude in her eyes. You didn't have to save me," she said. "I don't even know you, and yet, you brought me back." Ethan smiled quietly. "Anyone would try," he said, "but few would care enough to see it through. I care, and I'm not stopping until you're with your mother." For the first time in a decade, Selene allowed herself to believe that she might really go home. And for the first time in 10 years, a small light of hope began to shine in her heart, hope that had been kept alive by the courage of a human who refused to turn away. The galaxy stretched endlessly ahead, and every star seemed to guide them. But it was not just the stars that guided them, it was love, courage, and the promise of a reunion that would heal a queen's heart. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, the weight of 10 years of loss began to lift from Selene's shoulders, replaced by a new feeling, the certainty that she would soon be in the arms of the mother she had never stopped missing. The journey to Illyria Prime was long, stretching across countless light years of sparkling stars, silent moons, and swirling nebulae. Captain Ethan Ward guided the Horizon Star with steady hands, navigating through asteroid fields and gentle gravity pulls, but his mind was never far from the fragile girl resting in the cabin. Selene had grown stronger with each passing day, yet the thought of seeing her mother filled her with both excitement and fear. "Do you think she still waits for me?" Selene asked one evening, her voice barely louder than a whisper. She clutched her pendant tightly, A small token from her mother that had survived the storm and years of drifting through space. Ethan paused, looking at her through the cabin doorway. The soft glow of the nebula outside bathed her face in delicate colors. "Every mother waits," he said softly. "Even when it seems hopeless. Even when the galaxy tries to tell her otherwise, she waits. Your mother is no different." Selene nodded, tears forming in her violet eyes. I hope she remembers me." "She never stopped remembering," Ethan replied. "She has carried you in her heart every day. Soon, she will hold you in her arms again." The girl let out a small, shaky laugh. It was the first time she had laughed in years. Do you think I'll recognize her?" Ethan smiled gently. "You won't just recognize her, you'll feel her. The bond between a mother and daughter doesn't vanish, even after 10 years. It will guide you both back together." For the rest of the journey, Selene spent hours looking out the window, mesmerized by the endless sea of stars. She traced constellations she had learned as a child, whispering their names softly, as if the stars themselves would guide her home. Ethan watched her quietly, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders, but also a warmth he had rarely known. One night, as they passed near a cluster of bright, blue stars, Selene spoke again. "Captain, I used to dream about this moment. I dreamed about coming back to the palace, running to my mother, and seeing her cry because she missed me. I didn't think it would ever happen." Ethan leaned against the doorway. "Dreams are powerful," he said. "They keep hope alive. And now that dream is becoming real." Selene's hands trembled as she held her pendant. "I was so afraid that I would never see her again, that the universe had taken her away from me forever." Ethan shook his head gently. "The universe might test us, Selene, but it can never take love from a mother. No distance, no years, no storms can erase it. Your mother has waited every moment for you to return." The ship continued its quiet hum through the star lanes. Selene rested her head against the window, staring at the streaks of distant galaxies. She imagined her mother pacing in the palace tower, scanning the skies for her, whispering her name in the silent nights. She felt a deep connection forming even before reaching home, a pull in her heart that told her everything would be okay. Ethan prepared for the final stretch of their journey. He checked coordinates, aligned the ship's sensors, and made sure that every possible obstacle was accounted for. His focus was absolute. He was not just guiding a ship. He was guiding a reunion, a moment that would heal the heart of a queen and restore hope to a kingdom. Selene, meanwhile, quietly began humming a song her mother had taught her long ago. It was soft, tender, a song of love and hope. Ethan paused to listen, feeling the melody fill the cabin with warmth. It reminded him why he did what he did, not for fame, not for reward, but because some things were bigger than anyone's personal gain. Days passed, and finally, the small blue and green planet of Illyria Prime appeared on the ship's sensors. Its cities sparkled like jewels under the light of its sun. Forests stretched in endless green waves. Rivers glittered like silver threads weaving through the land. Selene's breath caught as she stared at her home, the place she had dreamed about for 10 years. Ethan looked at her quietly and said, "Get ready, Selene. Soon you'll be home." She nodded, holding her pendant close, a tear rolling down her cheek. I can't wait to see her," she whispered. And in that quiet cabin, filled with the hum of the ship and the endless stars, both of them felt the promise of a reunion stronger than anything else in the universe. The palace of Illyria Prime stretched high into the sky, with towers of crystal and golden halls that reflected the sunlight across the city. But for Queen Lyria, the palace was not filled with joy, it was filled with emptiness. 10 years had passed since her daughter vanished, yet every corner of the palace reminded her of Selene. The little laughter in the garden, the tiny handprints in the kitchens, the soft music of a childhood song, Every memory whispered a story of what was lost. Lyria walked through her private chambers, her fingers brushing the walls as if they might somehow return a piece of her daughter. She paused by a window overlooking the starlit horizon, staring at the skies where she had hoped Selene might one day return. Her heart had grown tired waiting, but she never stopped. Hope, fragile yet persistent, had always lived in her soul. That suddenly, the royal communication officer entered the chamber with wide eyes and bowed. "Your Majesty, a human ship has arrived. It carries a passenger claiming to be Princess Selene." Lyria's breath caught. Her knees almost buckled, but she steadied herself against the crystal railing. "Bring her to me," she whispered, her voice trembling, yet filled with unshakable authority. She had prepared herself for anything, but her heart whispered that no preparation could match this moment. Ethan Ward guided Selene through the grand palace doors. The young girl's silver hair shimmered under the golden light of the halls, and her violet eyes sparkled with anticipation and fear. Each step toward the throne room seemed to stretch on forever, but Selene did not stop. She walked slowly, carefully, as if each movement might dissolve the dream of finally returning home. And then, the doors to the throne room opened. Queen Lyria stood at the top of the grand staircase, her elegant robes flowing like light across the floor. Her face, pale from years of waiting, seemed to glow now with emotion. When she saw Selene, the years of sorrow, fear, and longing collided into a single, overwhelming moment. Her breath hitched. Time itself seemed to pause. "Selene." The word left her lips like a prayer, trembling with a decade of longing. Selene froze for a heartbeat, then rushed forward, her tiny arms outstretched. "Mother!" she cried, her voice breaking with emotion. The queen descended the stairs with unsteady steps, tears streaming freely down her cheeks. Her hands shook as she reached for Selene, and when their hands finally touched, the world seemed to disappear. Lyria fell to her knees, holding her daughter tightly against her chest. The throne room echoed with silent sobs and uncontainable joy. The mighty queen, who had faced wars and disasters, was undone, crumbled by the pure love of a mother reunited with her child. 10 years. Lyria whispered into Selene's hair, her tears wetting the soft silver strands. 10 years I have waited. I thought I had lost you forever." Selene clung to her mother, pressing her face into Lyria's shoulder. "I never stopped trying to come back," she said softly. "I never gave up." Ethan stepped back, uncertain whether to remain or leave. But Lyria looked up, eyes shining with gratitude and warmth that transcended words. "You," she said, her voice thick with tears, "you brought my daughter back to me. You gave me life again." Ethan shook his head, trying to hide the lump in his throat. "I just did what anyone would do," he said humbly. "No," Lyria said firmly. "Few would care enough. Few would endure the stars and the silence to return what was lost. You are a hero of the heart, not just of the galaxy." Selene looked up at Ethan with wide eyes, a small smile breaking through her tears. "Thank you for bringing me back," she whispered. "You didn't just save me. You saved my mother." The queen held her daughter tighter, rocking slightly on her knees, finally allowing herself to cry as she had not in 10 years. The palace, the empire, even the stars themselves seemed to pause and celebrate the moment. The lost princess had returned. The mother's heart had been mended. In that one heartbeat, Lyria realized that no throne, no power, and no achievement mattered more than this reunion. The kingdom could wait, the universe could wait. But this moment, this perfect, fragile, overwhelming moment, belonged only to them. The mighty queen who once ruled with strength and wisdom, now ruled with her heart fully restored. And the halls of Illyria Prime would forever remember the day when love, patience, and courage overcame the impossible. The throne room of Illyria Prime was still filled with the soft echo of tears, whispers, and a quiet awe. Queen Lyria held her daughter Selene close, rocking her gently, as though afraid to let her go. The years of separation, The endless nights of worry, the unbearable emptiness, they all poured out in this one moment. For 10 years, Lyria had ruled her empire with grace and courage. But now she understood that the strength of a queen could also be measured by the depth of her heart. Selene's hands rested on her mother's shoulders, trembling but firm. "I missed you so much, Mother," she whispered. Her voice carried the weight of years spent in isolation, hope, and longing. "I thought I'd never see you again." Lyria pressed her forehead against Selene's, feeling the warmth, the life, and the love that had survived the impossible. "My child, my heart. You've returned to me. I thought the universe had taken you away forever, and now—" Her voice broke, tears streaming freely. "Now I can finally breathe again." Ethan Ward stood quietly to the side, watching. He had rescued many people in his life, but none like Selene. She was not just a lost traveler. She was the daughter of a queen who had mourned for a decade. And in bringing her back, he had healed something much larger than a single life. He had restored hope to an entire civilization. The palace staff, who had waited anxiously outside the throne room, slowly entered. Knights, advisors, and citizens filled the hall, their eyes wide with wonder. Many had never seen the queen cry. Many had never witnessed such raw emotion in the heart of power. And yet, they all felt it, the beauty of a reunion that was larger than grief, larger than loss. It was the triumph of love over the vast distances of space and time. Selene gently pulled back and looked at the people around her. I am home," she said softly. Her voice, though quiet, carried a sense of certainty that made everyone pause. The room seemed to glow brighter, as if reflecting the joy inside. Queen Lyria's eyes, still glistening with tears, turned toward Ethan. "You brought her back," she said. Her voice was steady now, filled with reverence. "You did what no fleet, no army, and no technology could do. You returned my daughter. And with her, my hope, my reason to live." Ethan shook his head, feeling a lump in his throat. "I just did what I could," he said. "Anyone would have tried." "No," Lyria said firmly. "Few would have cared enough to see it through. Few would have endured the stars and the silent void of space to restore what was lost. You are a hero, not just of humans, but of every being who values love and hope." Selene stepped closer to Ethan and hugged him tightly. "You didn't just save me," she whispered. "You saved my mother. You gave her back her heart." The queen smiled softly, holding her daughter close once more. "This is more than a reunion," she said. "It is a healing. Our empire, our people, they all share in this joy because love has returned to our world. And it is stronger than any war, any loss, or any distance." Outside the palace, the sun set in a blaze of golden light, painting the sky in colors that reflected the celebration within. Citizens gathered in the streets, lighting lanterns and singing songs of joy. The story of the lost princess returning home spread across the city like wildfire. Children danced in the squares, and families embraced one another more tightly. Inspired by the power of hope and love. In the quiet corner of the throne room, Lyria finally allowed herself a deep breath. The heavy weight she had carried for 10 years, the pain, the fear, the endless worry, was lifting. She looked at Selene, then at Ethan, and whispered, "The galaxy is vast, but love knows no distance." Selene smiled up at her mother, a smile that reflected trust, joy, and relief. The queen's heart was whole again, and the kingdom could feel it. Ethan stood back and watched the family together, knowing his journey had accomplished something far greater than he had imagined. He had not only returned a princess to her mother, but had reminded the galaxy of a truth stronger than any force. Courage, love, and care can overcome the impossible. And in that moment, the Illyrian Empire learned to celebrate not just a queen or a princess, but the power of a heart restored, a family reunited. And hope returned. To the starsh days following Selene's return were filled with quiet miracles. The palace, once heavy with sorrow, now echoed with laughter, soft music, and the warmth of reunion. Queen Lyria never left her daughter's side, and Selene, in turn, clung to her mother with a love that had survived 10 long years. But beyond the palace walls, the people of Illyria Prime celebrated in a way they had never celebrated before. The story of a lost princess returning home inspired hope across the empire. It reminded everyone that even in the vastness of space, miracles were possible. Captain Ethan Ward remained a guest in the palace, but he did not seek praise or reward. In his quiet way, he watched as mother and daughter rediscovered one another, their laughter and shared memories painting the halls with joy. He knew that he had been a part of something extraordinary. But the real heroes were the hearts that had never given up hope. One evening, as the twin suns of Illyria Prime began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and violet, Queen Lyria and Selene sat together on the balcony overlooking the city. Selene rested her head on her mother's shoulder, the pendant she had carried for years glowing softly in the evening light. "Do you ever wonder," Selene asked softly, "if someone like Captain Ethan exists on every world? Someone who sees a person in need and goes to them without thinking of reward?" Lyria smiled, brushing her hand through her daughter's hair. "Perhaps," she said, "but not many have hearts brave enough to cross galaxies for love and hope. He is rare, and that makes him extraordinary." At that moment, Ethan appeared, offering a quiet smile. "I didn't do anything special," he said humbly. "I just did what I hoped was right." Lyria looked at him with deep gratitude in her eyes. "No, Captain. You did something the stars themselves will remember. You returned a daughter to her mother. You healed a heart that had carried 10 years of grief. That is more than extraordinary, it is legendary." Selene reached out and took Ethan's hand, her small fingers gripping his firmly. "You didn't just save me," she said. "You gave my mother back her joy. I'll never forget that." Ethan felt a lump in his throat. He had traveled through space, saving ships and people, but nothing had felt as meaningful as this moment. He realized that heroism was not measured by battles won or records set, but by the lives touched, the hope restored, and the love returned. In the weeks that followed, the Illyrian Empire flourished in a way it never had before. Citizens told the story of the human who defied distance and time to return a lost princess. Bards sang songs of hope and courage. Children gazed at the stars and dreamed that, perhaps, one day they too could be brave enough to reach out across the galaxy for someone in need. Queen Lyria reinstated festivals in honor of hope and family, inviting humans, aliens, and travelers from distant worlds to join in celebration. Selene, still small but now confident and bright, participated with a joy that seemed to light up the very palace. And though Ethan did not seek recognition, the Empire never forgot him. Statues were erected in distant plazas, and the story of his courage became part of every history lesson and bedtime tale. On the night before he departed, Selene and Lyria accompanied Ethan to the palace gates. The twin suns had set, leaving the sky sparkling with stars. Selene hugged him tightly, whispering, "Thank you for bringing me home. You didn't just save me, you saved my mother, and you gave the galaxy a story to remember." Queen Lyria placed her hands on Ethan's shoulders, tears glimmering in her eyes. "May the stars always guide you, Captain Ward. You are more than a hero, you are part of our family story forever." Ethan smiled, feeling warmth spread through him that no adventure had ever given. "I'll never forget this," he said. "And neither should the stars." As his ship lifted from the ground, leaving trails of light across the city, the people of Illyria Prime gathered in silence and awe. They watched the human hero depart, knowing that the galaxy had witnessed something rare and eternal: courage, love, and hope crossing the vastness of space. Queen Lyria held Selene close, whispering a promise of a life filled with joy and love. And the stars above seemed to shine a little brighter, as if honoring the human who returned a lost princess and healed a queen's heart. In the galaxy, legends are born of battles and empires, but the most enduring legends are born of the heart. And so, the story of the human who reunited a mother and daughter became immortal, a testament to courage, hope, and the power of love that no distance, no storm, and no time could ever day.